Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Packers Unscripted from Packers.com. I am Mike Spofford, joined, as always, by my partner in everything Packers, Wes Hodkiewicz, coming to you here from our studios at Lambeau Field to preview Sunday's Packers game against the Arizona Cardinals. It will be a 3:25 p.m. Central Time kickoff from Glendale, Arizona. And Wes, this Cardinals team is 2-4. But I'm going to rattle off a bunch of numbers to you right now. 16-15 at San Francisco, 23-20 against Seattle, 22-21 against Tennessee, and 31-27 at Indianapolis. Those are the opponents and scores the last 4 weeks as the Cardinals are on this 4-game losing streak. They have found every way imaginable to lose games in which they had victory within their grasp. This is not, in my opinion, it is a 2-4 football team, but it's not a 2-4 football team. This is a squad that is much closer to being at the top of the NFC than it is to the bottom based on how they have played most of the time.
Yeah, for sure, Mike. And I also think the biggest lesson you can take from this isn't necessarily the opponent that the Green Bay Packers are going to face when they walk into that stadium on Sunday. It's another example of just how difficult it is to win in this league, and really the narrow margin between, the best teams in the league and the ones that are taking up, the back end of this thing. Look at it this way, right? 4 teams in the NFC have losing records. Arizona's among them. The other 12 are 500 or better. Again, we're early in this thing. There's a long way to go, but I think when you look at the Cardinals' injuries that they've dealt with this season, particularly in the backfield, where both Trey Benson and John Connor are out. Connor's not coming back this year. He's usually their lead dog. Marvin Harrison has the concussion last week. Kyler Murray misses that game as well. There's so many things that, in addition to these very narrow losses, that have kind of been working against them. But at the end of the day, you are what your record says. And I take that lesson to what the Packers have accomplished to this point this year. This is why the only thing you can work on or worry about is winning that game.
Yeah.
And letting the record speak for itself, because right now the Cardinals are who we
thought they were.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's not bad, though.
I just realized midway through that was Denny Green when he was the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Yes, it was. That was you weaved that in there very nicely.
Thank you.
But no, what jumps out to me is not just these close scores and in looking at the details of these games and how they've lost them, but 3 of the opponents they've lost to in these last 4 weeks, the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Colts. These are all teams that have either 4 or 5 wins on the season. I mean, they have been really close to beating good teams, and they're looking at the Packers coming in, another good team, and this Cardinals squad is going to give Green Bay everything it can handle. There is uncertainty at the quarterback position. Kyler Murray has been dealing with a foot injury. Apparently, he's been listed as limited on the injury report. As far as his practice participation this week, Jacoby Brissett took over for Murray last week. They became, in a lot of ways, a different offense. Brissett ends up throwing for 320 yards against the Indianapolis Colts on the road, and that's 100 yards more than Murray has thrown for in any game so far this season. And it does present a challenge, as you've mentioned in some of your writings this week. It does present a challenge for the Packers defense, because it's not just, there might be, 2 different guys who could start at quarterback, but it's 2 guys who play the game in a very, very different way. And that does become a challenge. And I'm guessing that we may not hear for quite a while yet exactly what the decision is going to be at quarterback, because it's to the Cardinals' benefit to keep the Packers guessing.
I'm guessing it's one of those things that Adam Schefter is going to be tweeting out at like 2 a.m. on Sunday. That's usually how that goes these days. Listen, I've said it for years, man. I'll never forget sitting in McGeorge's in De Pere, watching while eating wings, Jacoby Brissett make his first start for the New England Patriots in a pinch, in a very big pinch, where they were missing not only Tom Brady, but I believe also Jimmy Garoppolo in that game. And he shined. And if you look at his career numbers, Brissett's a guy that has always been sort of on the cusp of being a starting quarterback in this league, but never really truly got the opportunity. Sometimes where it's like, okay, we're signing you, you're the guy for 5 weeks, and then there's a draft pick or somebody else we're going to turn to. But in that game, it showed you why the Cardinals wanted to add him this year. You see what he brings to that team, and to throw for 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mentioned the statistic when we were doing our 3 things video. Those are numbers that Kyler Murray has posted once in the last 3 years. Now, Murray adds a lot as a runner too.
Yeah.
But it just shows you the dichotomy there between their 2 playing styles. This is not a situation where you had RG3 backing up Lamar Jackson. This is a completely different type of quarterback. So as Evan Williams was talking to us about in the locker room, the Packers didn't exactly have their scout jerseys figured out yet. So there was a lot of the players going back to the coaches being like, okay, wait, so which quarterback is this? Depending on what their scheme was and what they were preparing for because of how different they are. Murray, if he does play, that's their leading rusher this season. He's the only guy with over 100 rushing yards at all that's currently on the active roster. And then in addition to the fact that they lost Connor and they lost Benson, Amari DeMarcado, he also went out last week, who was sort of their one of the guys that was factoring into that with Bam Knight.
And Marcado is the guy who had like the 70-yard run against Tennessee where then he lets go of the ball before the goal line, and that play was one of a couple that ended up costing him a victory there against the Titans.
Yeah, and I honestly think it might have been his only touch last week that he ended up getting injured on. So it's just been a lot that the Cardinals have been weathering. Early this season, Marvin Harrison Jr. was kind of in the crosshairs a little bit because the drop issues, the drops that turned into interceptions. It just shows you how narrow that is. And some of the hallmarks, too, that made this Cardinals offense really good haven't been there. Trey McBride hasn't been the same type of prolific red zone player, touchdown target that he'd been last year. He's still getting some yards. He's still obviously their top playmaker, but just everything's just a tick off. And as much respect as we do show, and we should show, to the Cardinals and how they played, across the board, it's a pretty average group. I mean, offensively, they're in the 20s. Defensively, they're in the 20s. There isn't one for turnover margin, they're at 0. There isn't like one thing that they're doing particularly well. So when you're not having success in one big area, when it comes down to crunch time, you can kind of see why they found themselves in these positions to get picked off.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the 2 weapons, their 2 biggest weapons in the passing game, Marvin Harrison Jr. and then tight end Trey McBride. Now, Harrison, to our knowledge, is in the concussion protocol, but he was listed as a limited participant in practice, so he could be on his way back and be available on Sunday. Adding up the numbers, Harrison and McBride combined so far this year, 59 catches, 685 yards, 4 touchdowns. That is pretty close to half of all of their passing production, whether it's been Brissett or Murray at quarterback. Those 2 guys account for about half of what they do through the air. So it's pretty obvious where you target your defensive resources against this offense. On the defensive side of the ball, Josh Sweat, 5 sacks. But really, I think kind of the straw that stirs the drink on defense for them is the ageless wonder, Calais Campbell, who has 3 sacks but is far and away their leader in pressures, quarterback pressures, so far this year. Now, take nothing away from Budda Baker, the safety back there. He's also a big piece of that defense. He doesn't have any interceptions so far this year. He's out there hunting for one. So keep an eye on Budda Baker as well. But man, Calais Campbell, that guy just, what is he now, 39?
He's 39 years old.
39. He just keeps getting it done every year wherever he's playing. This guy is a factor in the middle of anybody's defense on the interior of the defensive line. He's just a flat-out tough customer.
In no disrespect to Calais at all, the guy was incredibly effective here the last 3 seasons yet, both when he with stops in Baltimore, Atlanta, and Miami. But when he went back to Arizona this year, it kind of felt like it was going to be that retirement tour signing, right? The ones
right.
When guys go back home, this guy is obviously like an Arizona Cardinals Hall of Famer, absolute legend. And everyone thought he'd sign late when he went to Jacksonville, and then he just kept producing and producing. But here he is now at 9 quarterback hits, 3 sacks at a position that isn't always known for that type of production. This is a guy now in his career is over 110 career sacks over the course of this thing, a journey that began for him in 2008. And probably the thing that's most impressive to me, what is he up to now? 266 games played in the NFL regular season. I mean, defensive football players do not do that. We talked a lot about Mercedes in the run that he got in at tight end, but for Campbell to be doing this at this level and staying healthy throughout most of it and still being that prolific, I mean, they only built a couple human beings like him.
Yeah, I don't have any lists in front of me, unfortunately, but I would like to know how many interior defensive linemen in the history of the NFL have hit triple-digit sacks, have hit 100 sacks in their career. I mean, he might be at the – I don't know. He might be at the top of the list. I mean, Aaron Donald – I don't know where Aaron Donald ended up. He probably is, the guy at the top of the list.
Donald ended up at 111. So Campbell's past him now.
Campbell's right there.
Campbell's 36th in NFL since 1982 NFL history.
Yeah, I mean, just a remarkable player.
Wow.
All right, well, let's jump right into it. Keys to victory here for the Green Bay Packers on Sunday. Again, it will be a 3:25 Central Time kickoff from Glendale, Arizona. What jumps to the forefront of your mind, Wes, when it comes to what it will take for the Packers to leave the desert with a 4-1-1 record?
We closed the show on Tuesday where I was like, I had some stuff I wanted to say about the defense. We kind of ran out of time. I'm going to bring it back to that a little bit now.
Let's go, yeah.
I don't know how Jeff Hafley sorts it out, and I am not a coach. I'm not a defensive coach. I think Edgerrin Cooper's having a fantastic season. I think, Xavier McKinney is a very important player on the safety in the back end. My thing has been, I wonder if there's ways to get them closer to the football. The difficult balance that Green Bay's trying to strike right now is you got 2 guys in Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper who can both get after the quarterback.
Yeah.
But you also now have Micah Parsons. You have a guy in Rashawn Gary who could play 80% of the snaps easy on the edge. You're currently without Devontae Wyatt inside, so you're losing some of your interior pass rush. With opportunities and understanding that you're most of the time going to be rushing Parsons, you're going to be rushing Gary. I wonder what opportunities are out there for Green Bay from a simulated pressure standpoint, from a safety blitz standpoint, in trying to get maybe a little out of McKinney and Cooper in that way. If you can, I feel like there's great opportunities here for the dam to finally break and the Packers to start getting some takeaways.
Okay.
Those were 2 of the big catalysts for them last year. I mean, obviously, McKinney he had 8 interceptions, but
right.
You kind of forget how effective he was as well at applying pressure. I think he had a fumble recovery, might have had a forced fumble too last season.
Yeah, I think he had a strip sack against Minnesota.
That's what it was.
In the home game, if I remember.
Yeah, right. You need to. You don't want guys playing out of their system, but I think there's things you can do to help them along the way. And in both of those guys' cases, I feel like there's more we can see from them. And I'd be really encouraged to see it in this game. Packers got to shut down Marvin Harrison Jr. I mentioned some of the drop issues. He's averaging 15 yards a catch this season. Trey McBride is that Jake Ferguson, sort of guy on just another level where It's not just that he's the dump off option, it's that he's the Tucker Kraft. I mean, he can beat you every way that a tight end can beat you.
Yep.
So you got to stop them there, regardless of which quarterback starts. You got to try to limit this run game. It's the Packers' number 1 ranked run defense against an offense that has really struggled to run the ball in the traditional sense this season. Green Bay has all these different variables that I think they have to do defensively to win. But at the end of the day, there's 2 teams in the last 17 years that have been over a 700 winning percentage through 5 games and had 2 or fewer takeaways. It's Green Bay this year, and it's the Giants in 2008. And the Giants had a great year that year. They won 12 games.
Yeah.
But
they were the number 1 seed, I believe, in the NFC that year.
They were. They had a bye, and then they lost the divisional round.
Yeah.
So they're doing a lot of things well. But as I wrote it inside your inbox, I feel like that first takeaway could go a long way for the Packers defense. Xavier McKinney, Edgerrin Cooper, I feel like those are the 2 big conduits to making that happen. I appreciate your time. Have a great evening.
No, that's I like what you said there about those 2 guys, because because I think if the Packers have two guys on this defense who can create a turnover, like those are the guys who come to the forefront. Now, obviously, a guy like Parsons can do that too, but with all of the double teams and everything else that we've been seeing, teams are certainly making it difficult, and other guys have to take advantage of those opportunities.
Can key to the game be the refs calling holding? Is
Maybe,
that a key to the
yeah,
game?
like that's a whole other discussion that.
Sorry.
Yeah, we could spend a whole episode, I think, on that. But sticking on the defensive side, though, I want to say this because we've been asked in Insider Inbox. The questions have been flying in my midweek chat and everywhere else. What are the Packers going to do? What is the counter to all of this quick passing game, the 3-step drop and this and that? Because seen it from Prescott, saw it from the Bengals with Flacco and all this, and teams are finding success, or at least for half a game, finding success doing it, right? I don't know what the X's and O's answer is to that. I'm trusting Jeff Hafley and his staff to come up with what those answers are. If you're asking me what I want to see, aside from a takeaway, which I think is a big deal, and one takeaway could go a long way, as you said, what I want to see from the Packers defense in this game, if they are going to give up a long drive for a touchdown, which may or may not happen, but if it happens, if the Cardinals at some point go 75 yards down the field and get a touchdown, I want to see the defense respond on the next drive and not let things snowball, not suddenly feel like that opposing offense is in a rhythm, they can't be stopped, like what's going on out there. Like, that's been the issue in the second halves of these last two games, is that you're sitting there watching and going, where did the Packers defense go?
Right.
Nobody's asking them to pitch shutouts. You're going to give up points in this league. Things are going to happen, whether it's an explosive play, a call by a ref, whatever. But if you give up a long drive for a touchdown, you go back to the sideline, the offense goes out there, like, figure it out and get back out there on the next drive and be the defense that you expect to be. The response, the resiliency is what I want to see from the Packers defense, because it feels like we haven't seen that really since the Cleveland game.
Yeah, I was talking actually with, or going on Twitter with one of the Packer bloggers during the game on Sunday, and good dude. I'm not trying to put him on blast, but he'd made a comment about, the Packers haven't had a stop in the second half in their last two games. That technically is inaccurate. The first possession of the second half in Dallas, they actually got a very pivotal, quick out, and that's what allowed them to stay in that shootout then with the Cowboys. But what was behind the comment is actually true. Green Bay has had a difficult time keeping teams out of the end zone, keeping teams off the board, forcing them to punt, forcing them into a mistake in the second half. And it was really interesting. Again, one of the guys that was talking about this in the locker room on Wednesday was Evan Williams, and mentioning how, it's a lot of things. It's discipline. It may be conditioning. It may be different things that, you do wear down throughout the course of the game. But what's really odd is the juxtaposition to last year, where Green Bay's defense had a couple times where they were slow getting out of the gate.
Yeah.
And teams caught them in the first quarter, and then they buckled down the rest of the game.
Right.
It shows you the difficulty and the moving targetness of the National Football League, and that it's that dam where you're trying to put as many plugs in the wall as you can, and you're not always going to get everything. I think what Green Bay should feel good about is, let's be honest, Mike, the Packers don't win that game against Cincinnati. They don't tie in Dallas if they don't start the way that they did.
Right.
The defense has given the offense a position, when the offense has struggled early on, to take a 10-0 lead into halftime, and to have some opportunities to be up 13-2 at one point in Dallas before some stuff went against them. It's about finishing better in the second half. It's about making those adjustments. And this is, I wrote it again, Insider Inbox. Check it out, Packers.com. Support our families. The Packers right now, if they can get this together, this is the perfect game to do so. Because next week, you got Aaron Rodgers. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the most experienced defenses they're going to see all season.
Yeah.
This is the week to get things back on the tracks. You give Arizona that respect, but they're a 2-4 team. This is the week to figure some stuff out.
Offensive side of the ball, a key to victory, something jump out to you? What do you think?
You touched on it. I think when you look at the opportunistic nature right now of Green Bay, the got-to-have-them situations, That's where Green Bay has been so good this season. Again, I said it on Tuesday's show. You're not always going to be able to hang your hat on that. There's going to be times where you're not going to convert on 3rd and long. But the guys that have stepped up are not just Romeo Doubs and Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft. It's been the Matthew Goldens. It's been the guys that are just new to this thing, but are looking wise beyond their years. That excites me a lot. I think there's big play potential in this game. If the Packers protect the football, I think the Packers are built to battle the Cardinals in any capacity that they want to. But I feel like we've seen some real strides here with how they finished the game in Dallas and then how they responded against Cincy. I think you're seeing the firepower there a little bit.
Yeah, the gotta-have-it nature of the way this Packers offense has been able to come through in clutch situations, drive after drive after drive in the last 2 games is, if there is an early identity to the offense, I think that's what it is. I wrote a little bit about that on Packers.com if you want to check out that story. What I want to see as far as a key to victory is I want to see this offense, and it starts with Jordan Love, but it involves everybody. I want to see this offense eliminate that one bad play that has happened each of the last 3 weeks. The interception in Cleveland, the strip sack in Dallas, and the early interception against Cincinnati, because as much as it was nice for the Packers to be up 10-0 at the half against the Bengals, they should have been up 13 or 16 or 17-0 or something. The 10-0 was actually not good enough for how they had moved the football, and the interception on that opening drive was that one bad play. Now, I'm not saying they're okay. The Cardinals might get a sack, whether it's Sweat or Campbell or whatever. I'm not saying that there won't be any negative plays in the game, but something that really ranks as a really bad play. Yep. That's what they got to get rid of, because it's happened each of the last 3 games, and it's had a massive impact on how things have unfolded the rest of the way from that point on, if you know what I'm saying.
Excellent point. Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing that can help them too is, and we'll have to see exactly, again, we'll get through the week here, but the Packers finally did see their preferred starting 5 out there in some capacity. Obviously, Sean Ryan was integrated with that right guard spot, although Jordan Morgan, the former first-round pick, played predominantly there throughout the game. But you got Rasheed Walker out there, playing through, his, what was it, a quad? I'm trying to remember exactly what he had. Then you have Aaron Banks, has had the groin issues. And then Zach Tom, who's really sounds like he's going through it right now with the oblique and also the back. Yeah. Did not practice on Wednesday, but if he can keep toughing it out, if Aaron Banks can stretch some games together, I thought you started to see the potential in this offensive line, not only with how they protected Jordan Love, but also just how they blocked for Josh Jacobs in the run game. Josh had said afterwards he was feeling under the weather in that game, but the 14-yard touchdown run he had, said it probably was one of the best blocked plays he's ever had.
Yeah.
He even, it was funny, Dave, I don't know if you caught the mic'd up, he remarked to us in the locker room, he actually also said it on his mic'd up.
Right, he said it on the mic'd up. I could have fallen down and gotten up and still scored on that because it was blocked so well.
Yeah, it was just, and if you watch it, it's a great play. That the seal between Elton Jenkins and then also Jordan Morgan had a tremendous block, really powered his guy on the right side, allowed that alley there for Josh Jacobs. The Packers hold a significant advantage going into this game in their run offense, run defense against what Arizona presents. That is going to be a big thing as well.
Yeah, I thought the Packers offensive line, it felt like the play was a little bit up and down as the game started against the Bengals, but then as the game wore on, I felt that unit, that starting 5 really settled in, and the blocking on the touchdown drive, the touchdown run by Jacobs in the second half was a perfect example of that, because as the game went on, it felt like the only way Cincinnati was getting any pressure on Jordan Love was to blitz, and Hendrickson had gone out of the game, and the Packers offensive line was controlling the line of scrimmage, and yeah, the injuries are still an issue, and so we'll have to see. But if that's the starting 5, if that's the group they want, hopefully those guys will continue to settle in. I want to look around the league a little bit, but we got to pay some bills first, so we will hear from our sponsors. SiriusXM NFL Radio delivers hard-hitting analysis and up-to-the-minute NFL news that true football fanatics need 24/7, 365. At Cousin Subs, we have something for everyone, like our Wisconsin cheese curds, mac and cheese, golden fries, and creamy shakes, all paired with your favorite sub or sub in a bowl. Cousin Subs, 50-plus years of better. Pit Boss Grills, the official grill of Packers tailgating at Lambeau or at your house. Take your game day to the next level with a Pit Boss wood pellet grill. Pit Boss Grills available at Menards. Hey Packers fans, we always knew Lambeau Field was a wonder, but now it's official. Learn more about all the wonders of Wisconsin at travelwisconsin.com/wonders. Welcome back to Packers Unscripted. Wes, Week 7 in the NFL. Thursday Night Football, we have to mention it. We don't normally talk a lot about games that involve two AFC teams because those results just don't really impact the Packers much. But when you're talking two 40-year-old quarterbacks going head-to-head on Thursday Night Football, it's worth a mention. Aaron Rodgers against Joe Flacco. Pittsburgh is at Cincinnati. Pittsburgh has clearly been the better team, but Joe Flacco has definitely injected some life into that Cincinnati offense. And you know how these short week division rivalry type games, I mean, it always feels like anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, love, excuse me. Man, I'm so in the 2025 Packers now. Aaron Rodgers, going back to the 2022 Packers, he had said after the game, in this post-game interview, they were asking him about the North, and he's like, I'm used to the North. He's like, the games in the NFC and the AFC, that in the North Division, they're all kind of like a little bit. I mean, they are knockdown, drag-out, gritty battles, and certainly he's being introduced to that now on a 6-game basis here with the Steelers. I love the fact of this matchup. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm excited to watch it. I actually think from the Packers' perspective, the Joe Flacco game was a really good barometer a little bit of what it's going to be like playing against Rodgers. I mean, Aaron is really extending plays still. It's pretty impressive for a guy that's 2 months shy of 42 years old. He's still not afraid to scramble and get out of the pocket and work off schedule.
You can tell he's another whole year removed from that Achilles injury now. Like, whereas last year there wasn't as much mobility there because he was still trying to come back from that.
And almost a year removed from having to be in New York.
Yeah, that too. True.
It's amazing what a little bit of vision can help, an MVP quarterback out, regardless of the age. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun matchup, and it's key. The Pittsburgh Steelers will be on a mini bye before playing Green Bay in a night game in Pittsburgh. So something to keep an eye on. And for Cincinnati, that's a tough turnaround, especially with Hendrickson's back issue. Trying to make that turnaround go.
Yeah, if they don't have Hendrickson, I'm not sure how they're going to get a whole lot of pressure on Aaron Rodgers, because I'm sure they would like to do that. Around the NFC North, the Bears are hosting the Saints. I think the Chicago Bears are probably going to run their winning streak to 4 games to be 4-2. The Saints definitely a struggling squad, but who knows there. Philadelphia is at Minnesota, and then on Monday Night Football, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Detroit Lions. Probably the game of the week, really, as far as the full slate in the NFL. Your thoughts on any of those NFC North games?
The Lions will not have Brian Branch, whose 1-game suspension was upheld by
Jordy Nelson.
The
appeals, one of the NFL appeals officers who happened to get Brian Branch's case.
This is how I know I'm getting old.
Yeah.
Jordy Nelson is an appeals officer for the NFL, jointly elected in the NFLPA. So they're not going to have Brian Branch in this one. This is not an opponent that you want to not have Brian Branch on the field for. Tampa can stretch you in a number of different ways.
Well, and Detroit is dealing with other injuries in their secondary, and so they have now the Branch suspension on top of like Terrion Arnold, and the other cornerback's name is escaping me, but they've had injuries at the cornerback spot, and now one of their starting safeties is going to miss this game with the suspension.
Yeah, so it's a big one. Monday Night Football, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I wrote it in Insider Inbox. That's my third plug for Inbox today. This is the matchup between the team to beat for the Green Bay Packers right now in the NFC. I think this is going to go a long way with kind of that power ranking and establishing that. Philadelphia going to Minnesota is a huge game on a number of levels. One, I don't know if you saw it, but probably, as some people were remarking on Twitter, probably the most testy Kevin O'Connell's ever been, and it's really not that testy. But when he was asked again about the quarterback situation on Wednesday, saying it's the same answer as what I gave you guys on Monday. We'll see. I mean, it's funny. They're almost a victim of their own success because they bring these quarterbacks in. Carson Wentz pretty much off the scrap heap.
Yeah.
And, he holds his own, but now you got J.J. McCarthy coming back from this ankle deal and didn't look great when he was out there healthy. What do you do?
Right.
And it's a difficult opponent on paper that they're going to have to go up against in the Eagles.
The Eagles trying to bounce back now from a 2-game losing streak, but coming off of like the mini bye, a little bit of extra time for them after losing that game to the Giants last Thursday.
But now they're without Zadarius Smith, who retired. So it's just two ships crossing in the night there in that matchup. So will be interesting to see how that shuffles out.
Yeah, we shall see. Well, we get to wake up bright and early out in Arizona at our hotel to another London game at Wembley Stadium. The Rams are at the Jaguars. And the only reason I mention this one is because I'm looking at this matchup going, I don't know if I can figure out where either of these two teams is headed.
Yeah.
And I know there's always injuries. Particularly there have been injuries with the Rams and whatnot. But then Jacksonville. I don't know what to make of them. I don't know what to think of whether they're going to be a serious contender in the AFC or not.
I think that answer honestly is up to Trevor Lawrence.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Like at some point, we're going to get to a spot here where we got to decide. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is definitely an NFL starting quarterback. There's no question about that. He's a good quarterback, but he was the number 1 overall guy a few years ago, and he was seen as a generational can't-miss prospect.
Right.
He's been to the playoffs. He's also been part of some 4-win, 3-win seasons.
Bunch of coaching changes, coordinator.
Yeah, he's on his third head coach now, right?
Everything else that's gone on in his career, yeah.
So this is, I think, a really critical year for him. And Liam Cohen going in there had kind of a rough start, but seems like things are sort of trending in the right way. But yeah, the London fans, all those years they got served the Jacksonville Jaguars during some lean years. They get a 4-2 team now, welcoming in a 4-2 Rams squad. So, and there's no Formula One on Sunday morning, so I'll be able to watch it.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Austin is at night.
Oh.
I probably won't be able to. I'll have to wait until I get home to watch that because I'll be writing.
All right. Well, I'll make sure to spoil it for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, with that, we'll call it a wrap on this edition of Packers Unscripted. Be sure to follow all of our coverage of the team and all of our coverage of Sunday's game from Arizona. We'll have it all for you on Packers.com. For Wes, I am Mike. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next time.